Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Yeah, I'm so excited, and we are so excited together with my colleagues Laurie and Caroline to host this masterclass, which is operationalizing trust-based philanthropy. So here's the thing. I think when you first got the invitation to attend this masterclass by EAPN, it was actually originally titled Operationalizing Trust-Based Philanthropy, Embedding Flexibility Within Institutional Accountability. That's a mouthful. And we sat down and thought, you know, yes, we want to talk about trust-based philanthropy, we want to talk about operationalizing it, but until we first do the inner work. And this inner work, is about what is my relationship, even as I am, for example, I'm a grantee, I'm demanding trust-based philanthropy from my funder, or I'm a funder and I want to institutionalize trust-based philanthropy, or I'm doubtful about trust-based philanthropy. What is my relationship when it comes to money, when it comes to power, when it comes to control? How was I brought up, right? How did I grow up? When we talk about money in African homes, especially, what kind of conversations come up about money? We rarely talk about money. Nowadays, at least I can see this generation is talking about money. When we're talking about power, what's our idea of power? How does power look like at the workplace, for example, at your homes, right? You can't do this work if you don't have a self-reflection, and that is where we want to start. So yes, we'll have the templates. Yes, we'll have, you know, all these things that you may need in terms of now operationalizing it. But what you're trying to say is that it takes work, right? And we are here to do the work. And we're not going to stop this work here. And we'll tell you more about that later. Okay, and so if we really, first of all, we didn't want to have the panels because we wanted to break the silos. And at one point, you'll be sitting in groups of round tables. We were hoping it's going to be set up, but it's okay. We can always figure it out on how we're going to do it, because we really want to have deep conversations and be honest with one another and be vulnerable as we think through of how we're going to continue this work long term. And so when you talk about honesty, I think as the three facilitators, we really just also want to be honest and introduce ourselves to you, to be open to you all, right? So beyond the titles and everything, who are we? And I think I'll start with Caroline. Yeah. Welcome. Who's Caroline? No, it's Sharon who's supposed to start. Yes, it's Sharon. Okay. Sure. Okay, no probs. Do you have a tech person? We had such a beautiful, cute slide for the intros. Okay, but yes. Thanks, gentlemen. So I'll start the intro as we sort out the tech issues. My name is Sharon Afandi. I serve at the Seagull Family Foundation as the Equitable Giving Officer. I am a lover of people. I love people. I love to see people thrive. I champion for African visionaries. Where are my visionaries at? That's Baby Afandi, 1987. I love saying my age because I'm so proud of my age. It's a privilege to grow old, right? Total privilege. And women should not feel ashamed of saying their age out loud. So I'm turning 40 next year and I'm so excited. Yeah. So, so I'm a lover of people. I love championing for African visionaries. Where are my African visionaries at? Yay! Yeah. And just to see people thrive, really, that's my joy. And so for me, this work is very important because what I'd love to see, and just following up from the conversations we had yesterday, is having more capital flow, right, to our people, to our visionaries, deep down in the community. But most also importantly, to have us now start funding our own programs and projects internally as Africans, right? So I hand it over to Caroline. Karibu.
Thank you. Baby Caroline. Good afternoon. It is such a pleasure to be with all of you today. So as a form of introduction, my name is Caroline Bouvier-McCoy. Kenyan born, but US raised, as my accent probably gives it away. But my work has been focused, my North Star, my career, has been focused on moving capital and resources for Black people globally, unapologetically. That's been my work. And why I do that work and what brings me to that work is I fundamentally believe that for systems to change, we have to disrupt them, right? We have to disrupt those systems. And so trust-based philanthropy allows us to disrupt issues around power. Power with ourselves, power with each other, power with the systems, power with the work that we do. And that's why I'm very grateful to be in this session with you all today. More personally, I will tell you a few quick things about me. One, I love documentaries. So if any of you all have recommendations for my long flight back to the US, please come find me. Secondly, I love bold accessories, earrings, rings, love bold accessories. Yes, I do, yes. And I love a cocktail that has tequila. Tequila cocktails are my thing. Yes. I also, if you want to be my friend, send me a TikTok reel or a new song I haven't heard, because that's my love language. I'm so glad you're here today.
Okay, thank you. I'm Lori. Good afternoon. I've always been a part of a team. Yeah. You know what? These guys got it wrong. Which one am I? Am I on the right or the left? Put your hands that way if that's me. I'm the one on your left, my right. I am 32 minutes older than my identical twin. She claims she kicked me out. It's fine. Yeah, I arrived with one. So I'm in it. I've always collaborated, and I didn't have a choice at times, and sometimes it's hard. Does this sound familiar? I love Star Wars. Anybody else? I detest asparagus, and I've actually won a FIFA World Cup. So this kind of silly stuff, right? It's the point. It's me sharing with you something about me. And so it just makes us a little bit more human. And right now, I think the world is watching a big version of that. So anybody watching the World Cup, there's a difference in how they line up. You know, the referees all walk out, right? And they stand in the middle, and then the teams, they stand like this, and everybody's facing the crowd, and they do the anthems, and then they do the handshaking. Did you notice what? Huh? Yes. Yes, we're both female, despite our haircuts and our clothing. I have older brothers, and so we didn't have a lot of money growing up, so we got their hand-me-downs. So I was never wearing girl clothes unless there was a picture to be taken for school. And then suddenly girl clothes arrived in my drawer. But yeah, during the anthems now, they walk around the center circle, which, regardless of what FIFA was trying to do with it, I actually really appreciated it, because when you're at a round table, you can see everybody. And there's this acknowledgement of our human existence together. Despite the fact that we're about to go to war on the football pitch against each other, there's this acknowledgement that we have to actually cooperate as well. We are all within the laws of the game. And then we shake hands. And so I thought it was actually a beautiful, regardless of what FIFA meant by it, it had a really good outcome, right? Yeah. So this game was built on fierce competition, right? But we also have, it opens with this act of connection. And so therefore, that's what I want for us today. So Sharon, Carol, and I are going first. I work for a US-based grant maker. We also fundraise. So I've been on both sides of the table, but I'm not going to pretend for a second that that means that my experience is the same as yours. I can only speak from my experience. But I'm stepping into the circle, and I'm hoping that you'll step in with us. That's us. We came to this work from different doors. and look around, because we also have these differences in here, right? We have people who sign the grants, who give the money. We have people who apply for them, who report on them, and that's the mix that we have in here today, and everything in between. So we're going to have some complexity in here, and that's okay. But this session is going to ask real things of you, and some of what we talk about today may touch something tender. So if that happens, please feel free. You're not stuck here. You can step out, you can take a breath, and it's okay, and no explanation needed, okay? We're not here to perform, we're not here to harm, we're here to be honest. So we're gonna start by slowing down a little bit. Caroline is gonna help us land the room before we do anything else.
Thank you, Lori. So as Lori shared, and also Sharon, we're gonna be doing some real work in this room that's gonna require some vulnerability and some rawness. And I'm also naming that we've just come from lunch. This is day 2 of what's been a great conference, lots of conversations. Maybe you're thinking about the stuff that's going on at home, emails that you need to respond to, calls that you need to make. But we wanna take just a brief second to slow down. So I'm gonna invite you all to get comfortable in your seats. If you can, if it feels comfortable, please put both feet on the ground. I'll give you a second to do that. As you relax into your chair, also feel free to put your hands in a position that feels comfortable for you. I'll invite you, if it feels comfortable, to close your eyes. And if that doesn't feel comfortable, just hold a soft glance in front of you. And we're gonna take 3 collective breaths in. Well, there'll be three series of collective breaths, but let's take 1 breath in together. Hold, release. Now on this second breath, when you release, try to let it release a little bit longer, okay? So collectively, everybody breathe in, hold, long breath out. Okay? Now on our last breath, when you release, I'm gonna ask that you just drop your shoulders. Drop anything that you're carrying, things that might be on your mind, things that you wanna do, just drop all of that, okay? Let your shoulders fall. So let's do this again. 1 deep breath in, hold, release, drop your shoulders and release. Thank you. Now, I'll walk you back into the room, okay? When you're ready, come back into the room, open your eyes, get comfortable. We're gonna do a pair share. So I'm going to ask for you to turn to a partner, identify a partner. So let's do that now. Find 1 other person. All right, it sounds like we are paired up. Does anybody not have a partner? That's fine, that's fine. All right. If I can bring your attention back to the room, please. Thank you. So, some of us have crossed oceans to get here today. Maybe you've crossed the continent, perhaps you crossed the city to get here. And somewhere on that journey, whether it was long or short, something caught your attention, right? Something that you might usually pass by, but this time you noticed, and what was that? So if you can share. So with your partner, you can answer one of these 2 questions, right? The first one is, what brought you to this work originally? Not your job, not your title, but the real reason. Why are you doing this work? Or if you feel called, you can answer this second question. What did you notice this morning about yourself, the city, or anything before the conference started? Now, here are the rules. 2 minutes for each person to share. So make sure that you're sharing within those 2 minutes. I will signal when it's time for you to switch. Enjoy. All right, I'm going to ask if you can please wrap up your conversation with your partner. Give you another 30 seconds or so. So what we just did, nobody is going to share out, okay? What was just said. That belongs to you and your partner. But one thing we want you to notice, that this wasn't a warm-up really, right? It's the beginning of what this session is. This is what the beginning of this session is. So I'm going to hand it over to Lori, who will take us through the next exercise.
You're going to push it when I say, yeah. Okay, so most of us walked in here with carrying the same quiet fear. Fear that we'll get it wrong, fear that we'll show our ignorance in public when we stand up to say something. And so we're going to just name that truth now, because in the shared space, we all get it wrong. The work asks us to take that risk anyway. The space also carries history. We have generational trauma, often unacknowledged, and many of us hesitate to take up our own power in that space, especially in rooms like this, right? We're afraid of repeating harm that has already been done, and that fear is completely understandable. But it can also become paralysis. Paralysis doesn't make anything better. So we have to own our fear, and we also have to take responsibility for our own work. That's what's going to get us unstuck. So to name what we're asking of each other today, a poem by Beth Strano. And I'm going to actually go here, and if you could, I want everybody to read just one line of this, and I recognize that there is a line with one word.
There is no such thing as a safe space.
We exist in the real world.
We all carry scars and we have our caused wounds.
This space seeks to turn down the volume of the outside world.
And amplifies voices that have to fight to be heard elsewhere.
This space will not be perfect.
It will not always be what we wish it to be.
But
it will be our space together.
And we will work on it side by side.
I love it. Good job. Round of applause for the folks in the front. So we are not promising a safe space today. And you just heard why there's no such thing. What we offer instead is an invitation to a brave space. If we want to move towards a more loving version of what we can be, we have to do it together. And that takes courage. It takes saying yes to the unfamiliar for a chance at the transformational. Here's what makes that possible. Knowing our roles, our power, and what it takes to share it. That is exactly what your groups are about to work out. You chose to place yourself in this room today, alongside others. There's one unique conversation to be had. If any one of you were missing from this room, things would be different. So our job is to find that conversation today, okay? Perfect.
Thank you. So let's start finding it, right? right here in this room. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna ask that you split into groups of 5, okay? You can turn your chairs around, do whatever, but just group yourselves in 5. So let's take a minute to do that right now. Quickly group. You can move your chairs. Just make sure that there are 5 people in your group, please. Good. Now you're all in your groups. Look at who's with you. Take a look at everyone that's in your group. You have a mix of people, right? People who hold budgets, people who write the reports on them, people who fund, people who are funded, and people somewhere in between. And that's the point of this mix. That's why we wanted these mixed groups. So the question for your group, what do you need from the people in this room, especially across the different divides, again, we're a mix, to be honest today instead of polite? Let me say that again. What do you need from people in this room, especially across the different divides, to be honest today instead of just polite? So talk about it with your group for the next 5 minutes. Just understand you're not gonna be able to solve this today, right? But just get honest and real with each other. All right, so you can start talking with your group. Different divides that we just discussed to be brave and honest today.
Like mine would be, don't punish me for being honest. Yeah, oh please, Dora.
Can I respond to what my request of funders would be? I'm not a funder. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Thanks. I understood the question first, which is why my answer is already framed in my head. I'm not a funder. I am a receiver. I'm like somebody who's to be funded. So when I speak to a funder, the honesty that I would appreciate of them is to directly tell me if my model speaks to them or not. Right now, in this room. And not have long drawn conversations. Write to me and let's see. Do not want that. Because time is valuable and each one in this room who is in my space is in a severe fundraising crunch. And we are letting go of teams, we are letting go of infrastructure, and we are not able to communicate that effectively to the funders because we all can't find the courage to be vulnerable. We can't. And so, the honesty that I would need from funding organization that I'm speaking to is, this is working, this is not working, I'm sorry, we can't take this forward.
So from the room, you need space to be honest.
All right, these are the conditions that have been named. Let me read them out loud for you. Start at the beginning, please. Share what motivates them to give. Trust needs to go both ways. Candid conversations, genuine interest, room for transparent conversation from donors, be boldly honest, collaborative, don't compete, room for transparent feedback to donors. So I'm seeing a lot of themes around transparency, time to share, humility, acknowledging you do not know. I like that one. Honest accountability for all verticals. Genuine connection, empathy to be heard, provided constructive feedback, but without judgment. Look again, another one, no judgment, open-minded and non-judgmental. So there's a theme around that. Trust and trust should go both ways, facts. Funders need to trust the grantee partners to do the work, and also the grantee partners need to trust the funder. I'm assuming that's what it says. Try to put ourselves in each other's shoes. I like this one. Empathy, but this one too. Leave the money outside the room. Yes, yes, yes. Room to be human, psychological safety. Open communication with full-on transparency. We need funders to be honest about what they can fund or not, what the funding horizons are, and who they can link us to get better alignment. Again, genuinity from funders. I'm gonna read this next one, but I can't see it all. What I need from the people in this room is curiosity instead of defensiveness, listening instead of justification, and a willingness to hear uncomfortable truths and, what does it say? Without immediately explaining them away. Wow. I think that's the space that we're trying to create today, right? Confidence in the implementation because we know the context. Defined power relationships. As much as we are networking, we are not touching the underlying issues regarding funding and the transition period. To be seen for the work that we do. No false promises. How can we retain a donor after the contract ends? Please tell us. The room for the privilege to say no to some request. Yeah. Honesty about operational models and USP. Demystify the inherent power imbalance caused by the money, funder and recipient. Trust-based philanthropy. Approach challenges collaboratively. Beyond financial support, what encourages them to provide honest and constructive feedback about what has and has not been done well? Additionally, why are some funders hesitant to support faith-based organizations, even when many of these organizations demonstrate strong scalability, measurable results, community impact, alignment, efficiency, stewardship, collaboration, and a learning mindset? And the last one, acceptance and flexibility. Building trust with funders takes time. It really does. It's rare for a funder to commit funding after a single conversation. Meaningful partnerships are often developed over multiple interactions. So patience and persistence are essential. If a funder suggests reconnecting in 6 months, respect their timeline and follow up thoughtfully when that time comes. You all named the things. Name them. All right. So, naming the conditions for honesty across the power divide, which you just did, that itself is the first act of trust-based practice. And we just did that together in the room. We named all those conditions. So now I'm going to hand it over to Sharon.
Thank you, Caroline. One word that stuck with me is empathy. Putting yourself in the other person's shoe. Reversing those roles, right? That's not a word that we can take for granted. Anyway, so we move to this section, this other section, and again, we need you to pull out your phones. It's gonna be fun. And as we have just transitioned from that particular session, you know, some really thought-provoking feedback came in. And also, as we're now getting into this session, we ask this question. When you hear trust-based philanthropy, what's the first word that comes to your mind?
Can we skip the QR code?
Yeah, and we can just hear from you guys.
Can we just go technology?
Yeah, okay. So when you hear trust-based philanthropy, what's the first word that comes to mind? Anyone who wants to take a go? Yeah, sure.
Dignity.
Dignity, Problem solving. Oops. Unrestricted funding. Time. Integrity.
Relationship.
Union, relationships. Okay. Trust. Okay. Fast funding.
Context appreciation.
Context appreciation.
Yes.
Okay.
Winning.
Okay. The next question is, yes, in my organization or role right now, in my organization or role right now, trust-based philanthropy feels like, buzzword again,
Far.
far. Okay, something that's unreachable, right? Mm-hmm.
Seems like a privilege.
Privilege, okay? Mm-hmm.
Emerging.
Emerging. Mm-hmm.
Investment.
Investment.
I want to say fairy tale, like, yeah, fairy tale.
Fairy tale.
Yeah.
Utopia.
Fairy tale, utopia, emerging, investment. Yes.
It feels like
I think it's attainable.
It's attainable.
Yeah.
Possible. Mm-hmm. Sorry? Religious. Okay. Can I prompt you a little bit on that? Interesting.
Yes, thank you. I think we are used to very tight procedures, how to do things, do them right, log frames and everything. That when you think about then working through trust, then it's more like you're leaning towards, the faith and being, nice. And like if you have ever funded church organizations and how they do things, you are expected to be trusting to what they do. They don't always do things the right way. So, yeah.
We have a comment on this side of the room.
it feels like a transition.
He said it feels like a transition.
Okay, yes, I'm getting to you.
Feels like shared accountability.
Shared accountability. Mm-hmm. Shared accountability. There was another hand over there.
I'll say freeing, because we do receive trust-based funding, and it's so freeing. Yeah.
Positives. Yes. One more, and then
okay.
The gentleman.
It feels like a movement of some good people moving together.
Oh, nice. Viva.
I would say it feels misunderstood and uneven.
Misunderstood and uneven.
It still feels like an anomaly in several markets.
An anomaly in several markets.
Feels like hope.
Hope.
It feels like an opportunity for growth.
Okay.
It feels like a trap.
Oh, can we prompt you a little bit further, Lee? That's an interesting one. Why does it feel like a trap?
I mean, if if you look at the all the things that come after you get these grants, right? The reporting, the amount of paperwork you want to deal with, the process on contracting. Sometimes it's just ridiculous, So it leaves you wondering, is it expensive or cheap money, right? So is it a trap? Are you going to spend a lot of resources on paperwork to just get $10,000, $20,000 instead of you focusing on something else?
Thanks. Okay, so one more. Allow me to. Okay, sure. Let's hear from the back. Oh God.
Okay. It feels like the only way. It feels like a must. For us, it feels like the only reason that we exist, as we depend on the diaspora. So yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. It feels like shifting power to communities that are closest to their communities.
In your role and position at NASA. Yeah. Okay, lucky you.
Yes, it's doable. Mhm.
We have a wide gap. No, are you hearing this?
For me, it feels liberating.
Responsibility. Yeah.
So I think we can segue to, I mean, we've had at least plenty of voices in the room, right? I know, but we'll continue. There are plenty of more opportunities for us to hear your voices in the room, and we appreciate that honesty. And really, I think we've all noticed that there's a gap. While there is hope, there's also uncertainty, right? Others feel like it's a trap, but others feel it's hopeful. I mean, there really is a gap. And so with this gap, we need to really just start asking ourselves, and it's okay to have that gap, because we were having, those internal conversations, and we're like, okay, if we see things that are similar, then maybe people are not being honest, right? Yeah, so I'm grateful. We are all grateful that we're having honest and deep conversations about this. And so as we move to the second, move to the second part, we want to ask ourselves, really, and this is a mirror, we need to look inwards, yeah? What happens when, how does the next 10 years look like in philanthropy and in the social impact space? If you remember the conversation we had yesterday, Brian was prodding us, right? He was not just, calling us to action and firing us up, but really he was prodding us to start thinking. And we do have the resources, but to start thinking, in the next 10 years, if, all funders leave the space, what happens, A, to the funders and the philanthropic space, B, to the implementers, the doers, C, to the intermediaries, D, to the whole ecosystem, right? And as we are, so that means it calls us to start scenario planning, future mapping. Let's not just think of now, even as you're thinking of trust-based philanthropy, operationalizing it. So how does that look like? And earlier this year, the Center for Evaluation Innovation launched a report using scenario planning to offer leaders a better way to navigate profound uncertainty. Because let's be honest, we are almost heading, we feel like there's a lot of uncertainty, right? ODA cuts, USID and everything, and also just how the world is, even the global geopolitical politics. So we want to look at this, four possible futures and scenarios. How do they look like? Oh, great, our tech is up. So the Center for Evaluation Innovation had 4 quadrants. We have heroic philanthropy. So funders step up, but revert to old patterns. Resources flow to elite advocacy resources flow to elite advocacy, communities turn inward. Then we have philanthropy loses its nerve. Philanthropy collapse leads to crisis. Equity voices are silenced. Some funders retreat, while underground networks grow. And I think we're seeing some of this pan out at this moment in time. Communities fast. Formal systems fail. Local mutual aid thrives. Remaining funders work in quiet, unrestricted partnership. The most ideal, rising from the ashes together, destruction opens radical reimagination. I think somebody talked about, risk, right? And funding new ideas. Power shifts to communities as it should be. Trust-based models become the norm, right? Not the exception, but the norm, okay? So just sit in with that a little bit. Sit in with that a little bit and just reflect. Who do you need to become who do you need to become? Yeah, no, you know, yeah. So out of these 4 kind of, futures, which of these futures are you working towards? And does your current practice match that? We might want to return do you want us to return the quadrants? Yeah, okay. So again, the 4 possible futures we're looking at is heroic philanthropy, philanthropy losing its nerve, communities first, and rising from the ashes together. Okay? You can even take a photo if need be. So let's sit with that and let's reflect. Who do you need to become? Which of these futures are you working towards? And does your current practice match that?
Don't answer that out loud.
Okay. Yeah. So, this question lands differently depending on where you sit, right, on the spectrum. Are you on the quadrant? Sorry. Are you a funder? As a funder, are you a funder? Are you a grantee partner? Are you an intermediary? And to all of us, because we're also going to ask, we are going to reflect together. So as a funder, which future are you funding towards? Does your reporting requirements, your risk tolerance, your governance structure, does it match the world you say you want to build? So you might claim you're a trust-based funder and you practice trust-based philanthropy, but how does your reporting template, for example, let's even get there, look like? How many times do your partners have to report in a year? Is it every quarter? Grantee partners, and many other things, of course. Do you advocate for what you actually need, or do you perform compliance to survive the current system? And I love this question because I wish I could delve into this, but there's an exercise that was facilitated by Israel Family Foundation at one point earlier in Nairobi, I think in March, about the radical candor framework. And you guys go and read about it. But the facilitators facilitated on the radical candor framework. And it's a very good question for our grantee partners. Do you advocate for what you actually need, or do you perform compliance to survive the current system? So your funder is demanding something that even in your context is not possible. But because of this donor-grantee relationship, you're not able to say, no, it can't work. Right? Let that sit. As intermediaries, and I know that there are a lot of complaints where I hear, intermediaries are usually so tough. They normally block. It's so difficult to work through an intermediary. So, and I want us to dispel that myth. Do you use your position to shift power or to buffer it? As an intermediary, do you use your position to shift power or to buffer it? And then to all of us, in whichever quadrant we are. Because it's a whole ecosystem, right? None of us is working in a silo. Who do you need to become as a person, not just a professional, for the future you're working towards to actually be possible? Who do you need to become as a person, not just a professional, for the future you're working towards to actually be possible? Okay. So we segue into the groups, right? And let's get into our groups. Let's go back to our groups. And in these particular groups, there'll be at least one note taker. It's not something heavy, just somebody who will be able to capture the thoughts within the group. and then one who will be able to speak on behalf of the group. So we'll have one note taker within the group, you appoint amongst yourself, nothing heavy, relax, and then one who will speak on behalf of the group. Okay? So, and this, in case it gets heavy, because now we are doing the deep work. We already have started the deep work and we are still doing the deep work. Please feel free to, take a moment, step out of the room, take a breather, acknowledge what you're feeling or how you're feeling. So, and this particular session, we are not here to fix anything. Don't fix, okay? Don't fix. You just discuss. Just discuss, harvest what's coming out of this conversation. All right?
So we're going to put up 3 questions, and each of you in your group, you will choose one of them, not all 3, just one, and you will speak for about 1.5 minutes. And the group, do not respond, do not fix, don't even, you're not really discussing it, it's a witnessing exercise, okay? So 1.5 minutes each is just to witness. Here are the 3 questions. Oy. Technology, yeah? Oy. Do you want to read them?
Yes, I can read the questions. So choose one question.
Right here.
Oh, okay.
Here we go.
Good.
And then we're going to change this to 1.5 minutes. We're going to leave this up here. But please, in your groups, decide who goes first. Pick one question that you would like to answer depending on how you're feeling, how deep you want to go. Yeah? When have you felt the most implicated in the system you say you want to change?
Okay, so we would love to hear your thoughts and reflections. Let's come back, please. As we now get to as we wrap up, and we'd love to hear your thoughts and reflections. Yeah, over to you, Caroline.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So we've collected all of your responses, both the barriers. If I can please have you back in the room
One
with us,
meeting, please.
Thank you. So we've looked at the barriers, and we've also looked at one moment that felt like genuine partnership. So in the interest of time, we won't necessarily read through the barriers because I think we kind of know what they are. But some of the themes that we saw: power imbalance, trust, and issues with the system or the ecosystem. So that was sort of the themes that came up around barriers. Now, for genuine partnerships, I think some of these would be nice to read, right? Because I think it's important to see what folks were saying. So co-creation with the funder, I like this one. Donor reps visiting our country and engaging in very real conversations and then becoming real friends.
Yeah.
That's so nice. Let me see. Community still trusted funder when resources ran out and only technical support was provided, and also shared learning with funder. Community ownership, that's big, that's huge.
I can see a shout out for Seagulls.
Seagull,
yay, partnership
yay.
with Seagull Family Foundation. They're intentional, offer feedback, support, and referrals. Thank you.
Getting a fellowship, skills, and then funds to implement a project. The process was straightforward, and I felt listened to throughout. That's nice. Let me read one more.
Yeah.
Oh, let me see this one. We were responding to the arrested activists who were fighting for their community land against multinationals. Several orgs came together to take up different role on the efforts to get the activists released. Collaboration. That's amazing. So what we want to do is just circle the room and maybe have people share a few thoughts about this, other things that came up, just anything additional that you want to add to what was surfaced. So I think, Sharon, should we do like 3 from this side and 3 from this side perhaps? Or just a total of 3? What do you all want to do?
Yeah, I think total of 3. One,
Okay.
one, as we now.
Yeah, add some color, add
Yes.
some language, a reflection perhaps that stood out for you to share and reflect with the group.
whole topic of trust-based funding, and we actually wondered whether we can get some insights into how it actually works. Because it seems, maybe for some people it's clear, but in real terms, if today I found a funder who told me this is trust-based funding, I'm trying to imagine what that conversation would look like. Yeah.
Thank you for the honesty. Yeah.
Yeah, that resonates with this group. Some people wanted really to know what it is in practice. So the reflection that came here, it's around the shared barrier that we often say we value trust, but our systems and our behaviors are still shaped by the fear of risk, fear of failure, fear of losing funding, or losing control.
Thank you. Our thinking was around, we thought about it differently. We thought about it as individuals, unlike being the organization. And I think what we found is that trust is very important here, and I think that's what's lacking, because we're saying it's trust-based fundraising, trust-based philanthropy. But within our own selves, as human beings, and I don't want to say it's just the African culture, it's all about me first. It's all about what do I get out of it? The mindset of what's a cat? What is it for me? What's in it for me? And we also felt that that's also reinforced by our cultures. We come from a culture that is very much about the person who's wealthy. We adore them, we worship them, we think they're better than anything. After all, they've made it out of the gutter. And so it's that lack of belief in ourselves, and we compromise in our own beliefs. And so there comes a person, the emerging person, and only one out of that is the person then who's either vilified because they're coming out of the mold. If the system is so rigged and the outcome is seeming so dire, and then there's this one person who's standing and saying, let's be clean, let's be straight. If we want to stand out and be seen as the go-to organization, as a role model of openness, honesty, then we vilify that person, because we're coming from a culture that is, it's just me first. What are we getting out of it? And not, can I be the cleanest person standing in the room? And I think that's what we felt. And I had some wonderful Ethiopian colleagues here who, I can't believe what they said. They said, in Ethiopia, for instance, everybody saves for their funeral. If you ask people to contribute towards the trust fund or fundraise for a child to go to school, you'd hardly get anyone giving you a penny. But everybody's saving towards having a wonderful, colorful funeral. And so they think about they're saving for the afterlife, for somebody who's dead, doesn't even care. But they're not thinking about the life they're living today. And I thought that was really sad, Wow.
Thank you again. Context matters, and I love it. Contextualization. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you. So here we shared with the team here, and I gave a very interesting example of a barrier. And I think one of the real barriers that we see, or I have seen personally, in the past I've worked as a regional director for Africa, so, well, big shot, right? You would say that. But you go to visit, for example, your partners, and what you find is that you are extended a lot of respect. I don't know whether it's respect or fear or both. You look like a small god has arrived with your team. It's a real barrier to proper partnership, to relating to people at human level. And they will do everything to clean up their house, if you know what I mean. Yeah, and those are real barriers that I've seen in my professional work, and I'm always worried about such things, because I think we should sit at a table as equals, as organizations. Even that money is not even ours as Terrace Homes. It came from somebody behind the scenes, but sometimes we want to show like we are the one giving the money, so it worries us a lot. Now, what was a humbling experience, to answer question number 2, was that because of this whole funding crisis, some donors started to show interest to fund local organizations and then to find other partners to work with, like even international. So a very good experience was a project we did in Moyale, or cross-border with Ethiopia, with a local organization, and they are the ones who received the funding as the main applicant to the funding, and we became a sub-grant. I can tell you that was very humbling. I don't know whether any of you have experienced that. Because all of a sudden my staff are wondering, okay, how do we play this out? You know? So we send report to a local partner. They even ask questions about our budget. It was a very humbling experience, but I think it was a way to show how to build equal partnership and how to really put it on the table properly. Thank you.
Thank you for that reflection.
Last one.
Okay. Thank you. As a group, we had an interesting discussions, and we find other first three barriers are workable. The most complicated one is about the ecosystems. Why? When you look at the funders, even the funding instruments are based on their strategic interest. They have strategic plans. The strategic plan would inform the strategic interest in it, expressed in terms of call for proposal. So to be relevant to or qualify for this funding, you have to align yourself to the proposals. We discussed how many organizations today who had very genuine causes when they started, but today they are shifting their missions because they have to go where the money is, regardless of what their communities are experiencing. So we discussed what was the situation when you found the partnership was relevant or genuine. It is a time where, for example, an organization with the community, they try to produce and document the evidences of the problem, propose solutions, which are also coming from communities and these organizations. They go and present, disseminate, and donors say, wow, it is interesting. How can we support you? This is the way we believe was a genuine partnership.
Yes. Wow. I love that shifting of roles, and then now a true example of real relationships, right? So one last submission, please. One last submission. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. For us, we were saying, like, beyond the trust-based relationship between the funders and the grantees, how about the the legislative conditions that are there in terms of like the demands in the reporting mechanism, the rules and regulations that are in place, for example, for civil society organizations in Ethiopia, there is a capping, like 80% has just to have to go to program, 20% is only admin. How do you manage your funds with that percentage? At the same time, there are things that are happening, like unexpected situations that happen, like, for example, when the civil war broke out and most of the project areas, the intervention areas for those projects came up. How do you really rechannel the funding that's there in discussion with the funders? Do we have those rooms, like, really to be flexible and to be able to achieve the objectives that we have set originally? Also, there are so many macroeconomic situations like inflation and everything. So how do we really, really manage all those things? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.